So the problem with the Eightfold Path for me, because my memory is so bad, I never get all of the 8 right things. I get some of them. Yeah, I don't have any classes, so I can't do it. And because of my very old teacher, my venerable teacher, he sometimes, only a few times, in his talks, he mentions all the 8 factors. He normally just goes to Sila, Samadhi, and Panya. And it is allowed to do it in this way. I think the first one who wrote it in a book was Jnanatiloka. He grouped them into Sila, Samadhi, and Panya. So, and that is much easier for us to remember. We now see 3 things are much more easier to remember than 8 things. Sila, we know, it is the five precepts. For you as lay people, for people who come to the monastery, you can take on the 8 precepts or 10 precepts, whatever you like. The more precepts, the more we are guarded. And then there's Samadhi, and then there's Panya. And Panya, part of Panya is right view. And right view is important to understand for people who have their doubts about the path and the practice and the teachings of the Lord Buddha. So it's really important for them to get into right view. And normally when Tanaja Mahabodhi talks about right view, I mean just the assertion that there is hell and that there is heaven, that there is karma, that there are results of karma, that the results of karma can be good results or that there are bad results of karma, depending on our intentions of our actions. And actions are threefold, depending on our thoughts, depending on our speech, and depending on our bodily action. So, whatever we do will have an effect. I mean, we know it from the laws of physics that whatever we do will have an effect. If we can perceive it or not, if it's coming directly or if it's just coming after 20 years, that we don't know. I mean, in the 50s they used a lot of fertilizer in Germany, and then 20 years later or 25 years later they found out that all the groundwater was poisoned by that. So it's not really that you instantly... The first effect, of course, you see, your crops grow. That's what you want. I mean, you want the crops to grow and to become bigger and bigger and bigger. And then in the end, we have to... the rest of the fertilizer is going into the water, in the groundwater. And then we drink that and then we become sick. So we never... When we look at the effect, we only see the effect that comes immediately. The after effect, or the long-term effect, we can't even anticipate. And so is it with karma. I mean, we see the first, most obviously for us is the first effect. But the after effect we can't see. And when it comes back to us, we don't know where it came from. So, I mean, karma is something that is, we talked a lot about in the last few weeks. I mean, you just have to accept. Just like we have to accept, the laws of physics. If you throw up something in the air, it will come down. And if you are foolish enough, and throw a stone up there, and it comes down and you don't move, it does. I mean, we can't say then, the devas, in the heavenly realms, punished us, or God punished us by throwing a stone onto us. We just forgot that we threw up the stone. And then it suddenly comes back. Or in other terms, it's like a boomerang coming back to us. I mean, it takes a while to come back, No matter if it takes minutes or seconds or hours or days or weeks or lives. It will come back. The moment it is ripe, it comes back. Just like the farmer, when he sows something, he will reap it. The moment it's ripe, he can reap it. But if he wants it, then that's another question. And most of the time, we don't want the effects of our previous karma. Only some of it. The bad effects of our karma we don't want, we don't accept. We blame somebody else. That is why it's so important to accept the law of karma. And also, for us in this scientific world, we believe only what we see. Is to accept that there are beings in heaven and there are beings in hell. I mean, we got pretty much rid of the idea of hell and we thought it was an imagination from the Christian church. And now we come back to Buddhism and are confronted again with hell. Well, that's a bad thing. It does exist. The ghost realm does exist. So we cannot say, if somebody has seen ghosts, or some people, are troubled by ghosts, that they are stupid or that they are crazy. No. I mean, we lock them up and then in what do you call them, cuckoo's nest, huh? Something like that. Insane society. What?
Insane asylum.
Ah, yeah, insane asylum. Asylum is a very good word. You can lock up any kind of people. Yes. I mean, and who is the one who defines if somebody is crazy? I mean, sometimes the children decide that their parents are crazy if they don't give the inheritance to them, and they lock them up. So I know it is difficult to accept. Karma is very difficult to accept. But sooner or later, we have to be responsible for our life. The moment we know or the moment we trust that we are the ones who form our life, then it's much easier to deal with it. If we know that the things that we encounter are the products of our own work or our own doing, then it's much easier to go about it. Because we see something that happens to us and we don't like it. So we look what kind of our characteristic traits produce this kind of karma. And we will find it. It's not easy to find. I admit it, it's not easy to find. But if we search, we will find. I mean, there was a saying like that. Whoever searches will find. So if you search, we will find. And then we can remove this characteristic trait. That's why we are in charge of our life. If you do it. If you not do it, then we have to accept the fact that this thing will come back to us, and each time it comes back to us, it will be heavier. Because we do not accept the results of our own doing, so by not accepting, we force it to become stronger and stronger, because we act in the same way that produces the same karma. Just like the snowball, if we stop the snowball from rolling down the hill, we stop the avalanche. In the beginning, it's very easy. You just pick up the snowball. But the bigger it becomes, the more difficult it seems. And then, of course, we are not the ones who are guilty for it. I mean, we just forget it. That is karma. So if we accept the law of karma, and if we take responsibilities for our life, that is much easier. Then we know whatever we encounter is of our own doing. And then we can, first of all, what we have to do is to accept it. The second thing is to look into it, how did it evolve, how did it come about, and then get rid of it. And then it will not come up. But if you don't accept it, if you don't look where it's coming from within ourselves, then it will come back again and again and again. So that is mostly the main trouble. I mean, the main trouble in the Western society is accepting karma and is accepting that there is hell and heaven. Because nobody likes to go to hell. Everybody likes to go to heaven. To accept heaven is not difficult. But to accept hell is difficult. Because nobody likes to go to hell. But like Jesus and like the Lord Buddha said, the masses are going down to hell. The masses are going through the broad door that leads to destruction. That's what Jesus said. And when the Lord Buddha was asked how many people are going to heaven and how many people are going to hell, he told Ananda, do you see that bull over there? How many horns does he have? And how many hairs does he have on his fur? Each hair stands for one person who goes to hell. And each horn stays for one person who goes to heaven. I mean, just think about it. 5 million hairs? And 2 out of 5 million. I mean, that's a very good perspective for us. I mean, it's a good perspective for the people who want to work on themselves. For others, of course, it is out of the question. It's unreasonable. Large amount. We go to hell. But when we just look at our world, how it is working, how people treating each other, I mean, that's no wonder where they go. If we start to develop ourselves, if we start to practice, I mean, we have the chance to go back to a human life, or to go also to heaven, or even to go to Nibbana, to find a way out. Because even if in our next life we are not down to hell, then maybe in our next life we go. Because sooner or later we might forget the important things. I mean, we know that forgetting is very easy. The good things we normally forget. What do we forget? To be generous we forget. What else do we forget? To be respectful we forget. And to be grateful we forget. Very easily. Only 20 years later, what happened? I mean, that generosity, can be in material form, can be in words, it can be in thought. Also respect can be in thoughts, in words, or in actions. Also gratitude can be in thoughts, words, and actions. I mean, the good things, the virtues, especially now, in our age, in our modern age, these virtues are not considered to be virtues. They are hindrance to our wealth. They are hindrance to our progress. That's why it's very difficult for people who are living within the society suddenly change. Because all their family, friends, and co-workers, are going the wrong way. So when we suddenly, go, then we are, of course, afraid, somebody takes advantage of us, foolish people who develop virtue. Don't worry. I mean, if they take advantage, it's their problem. If we let other people take advantage of us, it's our problem. But it's also our karma. I mean, just to let other people do whatever they want. We can decide for ourselves, for each action, what is helpful, what is appropriate, and what is leading to happiness and peacefulness. That we can decide every moment. And we always can decide to do this action that will lead us to happiness. When we look, for instance, we look just at generosity. I mean, I told you last time, I think, it has there are 3 points of happiness. The moment we think about giving something to somebody, we feel happy. We don't feel sad. The moment we give something, we actually give it, we also feel happy. We don't feel sad. And the next moment, we get something back. I mean, we feel very happy. So there are actually 3 fruits in just one virtue. The same thing is with respect. If we respect other people, then other people will tend to respect us. I mean, it's always something nice if somebody comes and is respectful towards us and doesn't say you're a shithole. Just nicely greets you and doesn't talk bad about you. It's part of being respectful. And being grateful what is given to us. Being grateful even being born, being grateful of our parents that they raised us for 18 years. I mean, they put a lot of effort in it and a lot of money. And if you're a parent yourself, you know how much it takes. So one can be grateful. But children, of course, do not tend to be grateful to their parents. Because they think it's their right. And if they don't get the same right as other children, they go and sue you as parents. I mean, they go to court. I don't get my university education, or I don't get my Porsche or whatever, or Mercedes. The others all get them. I mean, I just pictured a little bit, higher up so that we can understand, what's happening. Being grateful to the parents for their education, for what they did, not only in material forms, but they worked actually, for us to raise us up. And you worked for them to raise them up. Certainly you did. And how much of your self-interest did you have to let go? Just because they were children, who were dependent on you. I mean, that's just a sacrifice. So we can really be really grateful to our parents. But not only to our parents, we can also be grateful to our teachers in primary school or secondary school or high school or at university. I mean, they all try to teach us something, no matter if we liked it or not. But they put their effort in to teach us to live within the society in a good way. And then, of course, the spiritual teachers, who show us the way out, or who show us how to live more or less satisfactory within this whole complex universe, yeah. But something is going on. So these are the things. I mean, they all belong to right view. That is the right view to look at the world like this. Parents, being respectful towards them. Teachers being respectful towards them. But even to the people who give us work, who give us the opportunity to earn money, we can be grateful for. That's interesting. I mean, if nobody gives us work, we don't have money and we can't live. I mean, that is in our age is very, very pressing, because before, we just had a piece of land and we grew our own potatoes. So we could be grateful to the land that gives us, because we had fertile land. Other people didn't have so fertile land. So there's a lot of gratefulness. And when we are here, we can be, every morning, we can be grateful that the people give us all this food. We can be grateful to the people here that they give us the opportunity to stay here. And it doesn't cost us a thing. It costs us only some sort of determination to practice it. Everything is done for free. is given for free. For the people who want to stay here, it's free. But somebody has to pay. So the lay people who come here and offer their food pay, or the lay people who offer money pay for your stay. Of course, they normally do it for the monks. So if the monks have plenty, they share it with everyone who wants to stay and practice. So, at least we can remind us of this a little bit. Once in a while, every morning, when the good food is coming, not indulging into the food. Before we indulge into the food, we can make a simple reflection. First of all, that this food is there, to maintain the body, and secondly, that it came from the generosity of others. Of course, the church in the West, had some sort of, what is it called, where they dish out the food to the poor? Soup kitchens and things like that. Yes. So there are so many opportunities. If we just open our eyes, there are so many opportunities where we can be grateful. We could even be grateful to the bus driver who drives us from A to B. Because we can sit there and relax while he is doing the hard work. Of course he gets some money for it, but that doesn't matter. It's the same thing with our with the one who gives us work. Of course he gets something in return, but that still doesn't matter. He didn't need to give us the work. It was his choice. We try to convince him, but sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't work. So we can be grateful. So there are so many opportunities in our life where we can be grateful. And being grateful is a very pleasant feeling. We might have forgotten it, but if we bring it up, we can feel it. We start with our parents because they are the closest to us. Then we can start with our partner, when we have a partner, because they are closest to us. We can feel it, and it's a warm feeling. So why not? Why not developing it? Why not developing gratefulness? Why not developing respect? Also, respect is a warm feeling. And generosity is actually a happy feeling. We are really happy. When we see somebody, when we give somebody something to somebody, and we feel he's happy because of it. He had something to eat, He hadn't had something to eat, for 4 days, and now we give him a very, very warm meal. He certainly is happy. And we are happy with him. What a wonderful world. And the problem is that we want so much for us. So we don't care so much about the others. And that's where gratefulness, respect, and generosity got lost on the way of capitalism. I want. I compete with the other. Who is better? Who gets a little bit more money? Who is the first one in our street who has a Mercedes Benz or a Porsche or whatever, or a bigger house, or metal door, or I don't know what. Just think about it, and you will find a lot of examples. So it has diminished. All these virtues that we call virtues in Buddhism have been diminished. They used to be virtues also in Christianity. No question about that. And when we start practicing, developing these virtues is very necessary. If you don't respect our teacher, we will not listen to him. So whatever he says, will not go to our heart. If we cannot be generous with material things, how much more difficult is it to let go of one's character traits. That one thinks, they are so, that's me, that's that's myself. Huh? I mean, material things, it's pretty clear for us that they are not mine, that they are not myself. They might belong to me, but they are not myself, so if I give it away, I don't die of it. That certainly. But with some of the views and opinions we hold, we think, we are left in the nothingness. I mean, when I believed for the last 30 years that I'm an engineer or that I'm a scientist and suddenly have to get rid of this view, I mean, what am I then? Nothing. So that's difficult. That's much more difficult than to give our house away. I mean, we know, we can, if we have a house, we can build a new house. Maybe a little bit smaller. But we still have a place, where to live. But if we give our identification, that what we define as ourselves away, then we have the feeling we can't live. We die. But actually it's not. We have become a scientist, or we have become this kind of person, or this kind of profession. Before that we weren't that. You remember that? We haven't been a professor for all our lives. I mean, we worked hard on it, and then we became it, and then we believed it, and then we can't let go of it. Strange, isn't it? And so many things we have adopted to. All the views and opinions, they might have not been there for all our lives. They might have been there only for 20 or 30 years. But because, 20 or 30 years is in our time a very, very long time, we forget that we were young. And that we might have had other ideas when we were young, and weren't that what we are now. So, generosity is helpful for practice. Respect is helpful for practice. And gratitude, just like the gratitude. A monk is grateful for the lay people giving him the food in the bowl, or for the place that he can stay, or for the medicine they give to him, or for the robes that they give to him. And you can be grateful when you stay in this monastery for the same thing, for the material that you're given, for the kuti or for the place that you're given to stay in, and for the food and the lodging, and for the Dhamma that is given to you. So, these are just more or less, virtues that help us in our practice. So, in other words, they are more or less prerequisites for our practice. And we certainly, all of us who sit here, we can be sure that we have developed some of it, in some of these virtues in some respect, in some previous lives, or maybe in this life, because otherwise we wouldn't be sitting here. People who don't have the virtue, don't have the generosity, and don't have the gratitude that is necessary to start practicing, they can't sit here. They don't even think about a place of a monastery to go there, because they know it's out of their paramis, out of their merits. Not consciously, but unconsciously. So people who can stay here, who come here and stay here, it's their good result. It's their good results of karma that they have done in previous life. It doesn't necessarily mean that we had to be generous or respectful in this life, but it certainly comes from previous life. It could come from this life as well. So then, only then, if we have developed enough of these virtues, then we can start the eightfold path, or the path of Sila, Samadhi and Panya. Sila, the 5 precepts. Just remembering, what is the first precept? Not to harm any living being. Harming, not just killing. Harming in ways of physical harm or harms of words. The second one is not taken what is not given. It's not just stealing, but everything that is not really given or not really, made clear to us that we can take it is against this precept. No false speech, no lies, no harsh speech, no abusive speech. The third precept. It's not just lying. Harsh speech can be also against the precept. And abusive speech also. So be careful. And the fourth, sexual misconduct. That means, not using somebody for one's own sexual pleasure without the consent of the other person. Or if you have, in other words, if you have a partner, that's the partner. We don't think about anybody else outside of this marriage or outside of this partnership. Otherwise, it goes against the fourth precept, sexual misconduct. Or sexual misconduct is also doing it with animals. That's sexual misconduct. Or, what is very often done, using one's position. For instance, as a teacher, or as a prof, or as a CEO, what kind of position, or a manager? To use somebody else who is dependent on us for our sexual gain, for our sexual pleasure. That's also sexual misconduct. Whoever is dependent on us, we do have the laws. We do have some of the laws. The teachers cannot have sexual conduct with their students. It used to be in the university the same thing, but I think they dropped it in the 60s. Something like that. A teacher, no matter what it is, what kind of teacher, be it a school teacher, be it a university teacher, or be it a spiritual teacher. We heard quite a few things about some of the Tibetan monks, having sexual intercourse with their students. That's sexual misconduct. And sexual misconduct, without any question, always leads to hell. Killing might or might not. Stealing might or might not. But sexual misconduct, certain, immediately. No question about that. And then the last precept is drugs. Anything that drugs us, in the sense, makes us unmindful, takes away our sati, takes away our awareness. Whatever it is against the fifth precept, taking alcohol and drugs. It's not the word of drugs in the sense of the West, because now they call even coffee or tea as drug. That's actually making you more awake. So if you're sleepiness, you tend not to be so mindful. But if you take nicotine, or if you take caffeine, or if you take tea, it wakes you up a little bit, being more mindful. So use the sense of that definition as drugs, alcohol and drugs. Everything that makes us less mindful is forbidden in this respect. Because we do things when we are less mindful that we would not do if we are more mindful. A lot of sexual misconduct comes in the state of being drugged. A lot of killing comes in the state of being drugged. Or even thieving and so on. People are high, and then, what is the world, it doesn't mean anything to them. What is conscience? It doesn't mean anything to them. If they sooner or later wake up, they might find themselves, being eaten up by their conscience. So, these are the 5 precepts. This is for us. You can see it as laws, as laws or commandments. That's not the right view. You can see it as a form of protection. It protects us from what? It protects us from falling down to the lower realms. And the lower realm starts exactly below us. The next lower realm are the animals. And don't even think that you cannot be reborn as an animal. Because you can. But to come out, to be born as an animal is easy. To come out of that cycle of animals is difficult. I mean, the Lord Buddha said, that when he was asked how difficult is it for an animal to come back in the human form, he said, there's one ring, one lifesaver swimming in the oceans. And there's a turtle, every 100 years it puts up, it gets some fresh air. And when is the chance, that this turtle will hit that lifesaver? That's the chance of an animal coming back to the human realm. But their lives are mostly short, so. And then it comes the ghost realm. So all these 5 precepts, it's just a protection for us. Or in other words, it's our passport to come back as a human being. I mean, we know we taken away our driver license if we drive drunk for 3 months or half a year or 3 years, or if you still continue, then for lifetime. So is it with if you break the 5 precepts, then our passport to come back as a human being might be for 3 months or for 3 years or for 3,000 or at most for 160,000 years. 160,000, not 160,000 years. That's a long time. That's when we kill our mother. That's when we kill our father. That's when we kill an arahant. Or we draw blood from the Lord Buddha. Or we split the Sangha. We create a schism in Buddhist religion. That's the deepest hell that we can go to, and the longest hell we can go to. Everything is in between. So it's up to you. The Lord Buddha gave us the 5 precepts for our protection. So it's for us to hold it. I mean, if somebody wants to be reborn as an animal because he thinks the life is so easy, it's up to him, if he wants. You always look at birds and feel envious that they can fly wherever they want. But we never watch them closely. Then, whenever they pick their food, constantly their head goes, forth and back, forth and back, forth and back, to look for the danger. They're always afraid of dying. They're always afraid, that some other animal harms them. None of the animals is happy in that state. And the ghosts especially not. Because they see the humans, and they're envy of the humans. Because they can't move the things. But we can move the things. We lift our arm, we can move the wood, we can cut the wood, they can't. It just goes, live in their ghost realms. I can build ghost buildings and so on, but it's not so important. So, if you remember that, and if you believe it, that this is something that you want to do, then from today on, or from now on, do it, and never break it again. Okay. We can't correct the past. That's done. That's okay. Whatever we have done in the past, we have done in the past. And it might come back. But if we now change our way to the better, it might not come back in that serious state. Where we really have to go to hell, or where we really have to go to the ghost realm or to the animal. It might not, or it might. It's difficult to say. But if we from now on change, it certainly will become better from now on. If we keep the 5 precepts from now on, then it certainly will become better. It cannot get worse. The least that we can then expect if we do that life after life is a human realm. And that is okay. We can live in that. So, and that is one big part of the Eightfold Path. The 5 precepts. Now, Samadhi, I think I explained quite thoroughly. There are 2 things that we are going to develop with Samadhi. One thing is this alertness or this awareness of what is going on. I mean, we are alert or we are aware of the breath coming in and breath coming out at the tip of our nose. Just to lead us to one-pointedness. So that's why we stick our attention to one point. But also this awareness of the breath or of the quality of the breath leads us or develops our sati at the same time. It leads us to the point of calm and peacefulness and happiness, but it develops also. In order to get there, we have to have sati. So we develop that actually in tandem. You understand tandem? So while we try to concentrate, and while we try to keep bringing the mind always back and back, and then once we get bored with this breath or with this Buddha, now we take more interest in this Buddha. That increases our alertness, that increases our awareness of how the Buddha is right now, or how the breath is right now. And that actually leads us, because it is something that we know, how the breath is, it leads us to the knowingness of our citta. So all works perfectly fine together. And panya, wisdom, is the last part of the Eightfold Path. I normally only talk, when we talk about wisdom, so we first have to talk about the 3 characteristics that pervades this universe. The first law of this universe is everything is impermanent. Everything changes, constantly changes from one form to the other. Our pleasant feeling constantly changes to unpleasant feelings. Once they are unpleasant, they change back to pleasant feelings, or maybe neutral feelings. Or maybe most of the time we have neutral feelings and then they change to pleasant feelings or unpleasant feelings. Once they change from pleasant feelings into unpleasant feelings. And so everything is constantly in change. Everything is constantly in motion. That is the first law, or the first characteristics of this universe. The second characteristic of this universe, that whatever we can perceive is not us, is not mine, doesn't belong to us. It's called the anatta aspect. The Lord Buddha teaches us, this is not me, that is not mine, that is not myself. What is not me, what is not mine, what is not myself? I mean, it starts with the 5 khandha. The body is not so. The body doesn't belong to me, the body is not mine. Feeling, the second khandha, or the second group. This doesn't belong to me, this is not me, that is not mine. Memory and association. That is not me, that is not mine, that doesn't belong to me. Thought. That is not me, that is not mine, that doesn't belong to me. And even consciousness. Consciousness that is just purely aware that something has come into contact with our senses. That's consciousness. It does not yet know what has come into contact because we need memory and thought for it to analyze it and tell us, okay, that was a rat, or that was a chicken, or that was a snake, or that was just thunder. I mean, whatever. I mean, we need memory and association in order to give it a label, what it is. So, consciousness cannot be that. Consciousness is not the finished product that we normally think of. We are conscious of a sound. We are conscious of a sound, but we don't know yet what kind of sound it is, where it's coming from, what its meaning is. We are conscious of a sight. But when we are conscious of a sight, all what we see is form and color. We don't know yet what we are seeing. That has to be processed. Just like, in every computer, you give something in and then it processes and tells you, okay, that was this and that was that. that came from the keyboard, that letter was pressed, or the mouse moved in up or down or left or right. But actually what comes in is a signal. It doesn't say up, left or down or right. And when from a keyboard it all comes in as a signal. So you have to decode it. So actually our thought and memory is to decode us, to tell us, in the end, if this is this, then it is you, the capital or capital U. Two keys were pressed. So, if this, if that sound that we just hear, it seems to be immediately chicken, huh? But somebody who has never heard a chicken, he certainly has first to go there, and look, where that sound is coming from, and then, okay, that was a chicken. If he knows that it's a chicken. Maybe he has to ask a local, what the name of that kind of creature is. Just like for us, we didn't know what an elephant is until we became a picture or a drawing of an elephant. We couldn't even imagine. There's a big animal, People who went to India 3,000 years ago. Huge animals, even the horses were afraid of them. Description of in Alexander's. He lost the battle. Because they are fierce animals. And once you see an elephant, even if it's a small elephant, it's quite huge. It has quite a mass. You better, if you're not familiar with it, you better stay away. So, we have to learn it. If you're not familiar with these sounds or with these sights, we have to learn it. So we put it in our memory, and next time we see it, we bring it up from our memory, okay, and identify. So, that means investigation of these 5 khandhas. What are of these 5 groups? What are the groups? Or, coming back to another, that these groups are not me. Because, the question is, who is the one who knows about all this thing? He latches onto it. That leads to attachment. He thinks that the body is his, or he thinks that the feeling that he thinks he experiences, but actually the observer just observes. The observer doesn't experience. He just knows there is a feeling coming in and coming in. But through our attachment we think it's us. This feeling is me, it's mine, it belongs to me, and I'm going to defend it for the rest of my life. And I don't want to change it, especially if it's pleasant. And I want to change it if it's unpleasant. So all these things are anatta. They are not me, they are not myself, they don't belong to me. Because otherwise, just ask yourself, who's the one who knows about these things? Because the one who knows about feeling cannot be the feeling. Because the feeling itself doesn't know about that it's a feeling. The body doesn't know it's a body. It just works together, doesn't it? Pretty good. Pretty perfect. We are still amazed about how the body is working together.
So who's the me that you call it? Who's the me that you call it?
If you got the thing, if you want to think about a me, but that me, without all this identification, without this body, without this feeling as personal things, he's just the observer. Who knows? When you sit in a movie, you wouldn't call yourself with this character or that character. That's me, that's me, that's me. You still are the one who sits, who sits on the seat, on maybe a comfortable seat, yeah? Or maybe just a bench, and observes the movie. But because we constantly see this movie running around in front of us, so we identify, we latch onto, and we forget that we are actually observing. And that's why you think it's me. But the moment you take all these things, whatever is me, and put it in the 5 khandhas, in the 5 groups, and you won't find anything that will not fit into the 5 groups. Because with the body, don't forget, comes the 6 senses. The senses of seeing, the senses of hearing, the senses of smelling, of tasting, of touching and thinking.
If we project this in the current situation, so my body is sitting here, and my ears are listening to your sound waves, and I'm observing. Who is I?
I mean, can't you answer the question yourself? Who is the one who knows about all these things?
The chitta?
Yeah. That's what we call the chitta. Or the one who knows. I mean, it's a synonym for the one who knows. But the problem with the chitta at the moment, it is still, most of the time, it is still attached to these things. That's why it's called me, mine, self. It's the same thing in the moment. I mean, the moment you block the eyes and the ears of a theater goer, I mean, he doesn't see, and he realizes, okay, there's something sitting. Then he sees for a moment, he sees what the true self. But the next moment, the slide goes off and he hears and sees again, and he feels attached to it. And that's why we have to understand how we get attached to these things. How we get attached to the body, how we get attached to the feeling, how we get attached to memory, how we get attached. Because if we can cut it loose, we certainly know ourselves. Whatever you can call them self, because it has no personality. It only gets a personality through attaching to the forms of the 5 groups. And the mixture of the 5 groups, as you see, just look at your neighbor, are different. So that's what I mean when I said, coming back home. Coming back home, is realizing that we have sat for the last, billions of lives in a movie theater. And then somebody comes to us and says, hey, you realize you're sitting in a movie theater, you are not actually these characters on the screen? You're not these celluloid pictures? And he said, no, I don't believe it. Of course, because he has sitting, you were born in a movie theater and you die in this movie theater. And each movie is the movie of your life. And the next movie depends on what you liked in this movie or what you hated in this movie. That feeds in the next feed. And so, I mean, I think it is rather difficult to understand, but it gives you an idea of what is going actually on. And that there is really not a self that we can call a person. I mean, only in the sense of a person. But there's something left. And I invite you to experience it. If you go to Apana Samadhi, you will see what is left. Because then the 5 khandhas also disappear. That gives you a very, very clear picture of just the things, or just the essence of our chitta. Then you see actually the one who is sitting in this movie theater and constantly gets attached.
Gets attached to what?
To the movie that is playing on. To the 5 groups that are working together.
So is the movie, is that you at the moment, or is it my senses?
Yes. I mean, what?
Are you the movie, or is my senses?
It's your senses. Right. But of course, I play part in your movie. I mean, just like every one of us, the animals play part in this movie. Yeah? And that's why this movie is always, more or less can be interesting if one is very observant, or can be boring if one sees always the same things. And that's why people think that this is boring, and there's nothing to do, I have to change the mood, I have to do some action, change the feed, get a new life, or whatever. This is just an idea. It's just a way, of what we are used to compare it with what is actually happening. But the invitation still stands, to look for yourself what is left. And then you see the moment you come out of it, out of the state of clear knowing, once you get out of it, you see how the attachment actually, can work. You see, suddenly I'm on the stage again, I get hit, from left and right and top and bottom. Just a minute ago, I was completely, in a peaceful and happy environment. Nothing was there. Now I come out. And that is where we investigate. How do we get attached to these things? And we can do that, of course, full-time as a monk, part-time as a lay person who goes in and visits the monastery and practices there, or part-time, in a meditation retreat, or minimal at home. Because we don't have a lot of time. Most of the time when we are at home and we are busy with our work and busy with our life, what we need to do is to calm the mind down, that it stops thinking. Because investigation is actually, using thought, using questions or reflections. And reflections don't go without thought. We need thought, to do reflection. What did I do? Just a question, what did I do today? Why do I feel so miserable? Or why do I feel so happy? We never ask that question. Because we hardly feel happy. The moment we come home from work, just look at it. I invite you, to do that daily reflection, how you feel. But first of all, most of the time we have to just calm the mind down. And then, of course, when we are constantly doing it, we don't have to do that in this measure. We use it, to calm our mind down once a day, and then it's gone. Because we are not getting excited, we are not getting worked up in the life. So in the morning, in the evening, we use, just 3/4 of an hour or maybe an hour just to calm the mind down. And once the mind is a little bit calm, we can ask this question about what happened today. What went in the right direction, what went in the wrong direction? Why did it went in the wrong direction? What did I do or what did happen actually? And then keep on the subject. Because tomorrow it will happen again. If you keep on the subject, investigate and get deeper, each time, when you look at the thing, each time you get a little bit earlier, your awareness springs into a little bit earlier than yesterday. You get closer to the point where it actually is happening. Once you get to the point, the moment it's actually happening, then you can change the program. You can eradicate the if-then-else condition. And then you feel freer, because you have unconditioned one thing. Then you go to the next thing. Then you uncondition the next thing. Until you actually are going to stay in the unconditioned, where there are no conditions anymore. Oh, isn't that freedom? That's freedom. But that is mental freedom, not bodily freedom. The body cannot be unconditioned because it's a conditioned thing. Feeling cannot be unconditioned because it's a conditioned thing. Memory cannot be unconditioned because it's a conditioned thing. The only thing that can be unconditioned is our chitta. That programmed itself in the wrong way. So, that is what we can uncondition. And that is the path of wisdom. To see. And the first thing that is important for us to investigate is body and bodily feelings. And that takes a while. To see the body what it is. And then later on, with the body comes the senses. So, there are so many things that we just tell ourselves, I want to see this. Sati would come in, or wisdom would come in and say, why? Haven't you seen it before? And then you would admit, yes, I have seen it before. So why do you want to see it again? Oh, it was so nice. And when you see it again, you want to see it over again. And again, and again, and again. And there is no enough. That's where wisdom cuts in. And then you say, okay, I've seen it once, that's fine. I don't have to see it again. So that is the path of investigation. And each of these groups help to develop the other groups as well. So, if we keep our sila good, then it makes us much more easier to develop samadhi, to develop awareness, and to develop wisdom. If we develop wisdom, it gives us more insight into how we go against our precepts. And the same thing with sati, with mindfulness, or with awareness. The more we are aware, the more we know we go against the precept. And the early we can cut in. So each group, will help develop the other groups. So that is not to say, okay, sila, go, past. Samadhi, past. I just concentrate on unconditional. That is not going to work. It cannot work. Because we forget to develop samadhi. Without samadhi, we cannot see properly. It is like, just like doing some kitchen work, and the person, in the beginning the knife is sharp. But, after doing so much work, the knife, becomes unsharp. And then in the end, he doesn't cut it anymore, he just smash everything. And when you smash everything, you can't investigate. So that is sati and panya. Panya is the knife, and sati is the one that sharpens the knife. And only with a sharpened knife you can cut, and very easily, and it doesn't hurt. Smashing things is a lot of work, but you don't accomplish anything.
Concentration, please.
Yes, concentration.
Please.
What? You need concentration. Buddha.
I need full concentration.
Yes, good. Don't let the mind go off. You invite the mind to go for a stroll. You invite the hooligans to come in and to ruin your samadhi. Oh yes, this thought, they come in disguise.
No.
The thought, you invite it. Okay, I need to think about it. This is very important. That's how you invite them in.
I don't.
Yeah, they are coming. But if you tell them, yes, they intrude, but if you tell them to go, then they will go.
Yeah.
But because they have such a significance, you don't let them go.
No, but because we have no weapons to fight.
Huh?
But they come back.
Well, you fight them off and they won't come back. If somebody knows, if you have a, toothbrush seller, going to your door and you buy the first toothbrush, he will come every day. But then, when you decide, no, I don't want every day a new toothbrush, he will still come, until, after months, he will realize, okay, this person doesn't buy anything anymore. And then he won't come, isn't it? It's the same thing. So, at the moment we cut that thought, as much important as it is, we throw it back out. Just go out. I'm not interested in you. I don't buy you. I don't want to buy this. Can you do that? I don't want to buy it. I don't want to buy this memory. I don't want to buy this thought.
I don't need to buy it all. They give it free of charge.
Well, then just use the buy into. I mean, buy has quite a few connotations. That's why I didn't say buy into, but buy. To buy a thought, is believe the thought. All that's what you do. You have to do is not to believe any thoughts. Just check them out, and your concentration will, your mind will just go one-pointed in no time. But we believe them, isn't it? I mean, I have to look at my email. I have to go shopping. Whatever. Now I have to go washing. Now I have to go to pee. Now I have to drink something. Yes, they are all important thoughts. Check them out. I don't believe you. I don't buy into you. I mean, it's easy. The mechanism is very easy. If you don't buy into it, it won't come. Or it will come less and less and less. Huh? Just like the seller who sells his toothpaste. And in the beginning we say, no, he comes not every day, but, every second day. Maybe not today, And then he sees, not every second day, then he can say it's 30. Until he gives it up. Yeah, but it's the difficulty is to say no. No. That's, you're not willing to say no.
Just, my kilesa,
Yeah.
I used to say, like, sitting. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to sit in a position for
1 hour.
Till tomorrow if I'm not going to get to. And then when my legs aches,
mm-hmm.
it just automatically it just sprung up. It just look in other position and say, see, I'm still sitting. My kilesa is just like that.
They are they are clever.
And Luang Ta always said that don't try to don't try to escape Vedana.
Mm-hmm.
Don't try to escape it.
Yes.
Don't try to. So I would next one. I don't want to escape Vedana. I don't want to escape it. I change the parikam words. He said, what am I parikamming? He said, I don't want to escape Vedana.
Yeah, but then you have to start to investigate Vedana. And that's what I told you. I think I told quite often in the last few weeks, that we have to actually face up with this Vedana. We have to face this unpleasant feeling. And then once we can face this unpleasant feeling, only then can we do the investigation. If we can't stay with this unpleasant feeling, I mean, any kind of investigation is wrong. Or it cannot work. How can we get to the source of it if we don't put our attention on it? I mean, how can you read a book if you don't put your eyes on the book?
I'm better on Chitta Vedana rather than physical Vedana.
Mm-hmm.
I know how to deal with it better than
Chitta Vedana.
Yeah, than physical Vedana.
Well, learn first with the physical Vedana, and then you can deal with the Chitta Vedana.
I don't know why I'm just upside down.
But Chitta Vedana is actually very easy to deal with it. I mean, you just replace, because Chitta Vedana mostly comes from thoughts and memory. I mean, if you check out Buddha, 5 minutes later, this feeling does not exist anymore.
It's just a way to escape, but not to study it.
No, not to study it. It's just a way, to push it away for the moment. Mm. But that goes much easier than the physical pain. But also, you will see, to some things, you will find being attached to some of the Chitta Vedana. Be it a pleasant mental feeling. Or be it, just a feeling. Some people, love sadness. I mean, they feel really connected to themselves when they are sadness. So their attachment. And if there's an attachment, that would be cut down with Buddha. I mean, there might be a Chitta Vedana, the rest of Chitta Vedana is still left, and then we just look at it. But it will boil up the moment we use thoughts and memories at that time. So that's why we use the thought of Buddha. Yeah? Just to get another. I mean, to get rid of the boiling up. I mean, if you have a gas pot, you boil it up, and the moment you take off, it's still hot, but it will cool down pretty quick. But if you still boil it up with our thoughts and with our memories, I mean, it will boil over, until there's nothing there, and in the end, the pot will explode.
I just cooled down because of realizing. I mean, like something like when it's time, and I saw my thought going on and how it works, and then it's just so boring. It just up, bird up. It happened very bad. And then I saw that this series of it, and then I realized it, and as soon as I understood it, and this kind of series, then it's getting calmer. This is the way of it.
Yeah, but it doesn't seem that your understanding takes you really the burden off. So the understanding is not yet deep enough.
Yeah, I know it's not deep enough.
I mean, only deep understanding, really deep insight, cuts it off. This understanding is helpful. If you remember it the moment it happens. Okay, I had this understanding, so let's look at it, how it works. I mean, you can look the same thing with physical pain. I mean, it's mostly, what makes this pain, so painful is our thoughts that we don't want it. Just the first thought, catch the first thought. There's an unpleasant feeling. And next our whole attention goes to this unpleasant feelings and brings it up, And our memories, I had that yesterday, or I had that just an hour before. It's too much, I can't take it. I mean, these thoughts are not accepting the pain. These thoughts are strengthening the pain and making it even worse. Oh, now I've done enough Buddha on me, why doesn't the pain go away? That still means, you don't accept the pain. You cannot accept pain. I mean pain, just go in, just go in, dive into that feeling.
But it depends on what kind of pain. Okay.
Doesn't matter what kind of pain. It can be physical pain or it can be mental pain. Dive into it, experience it, and then start investigation.
No, I mean just normal physical pain, but my physical abnormality, like.
What he said, what did Lungta said, he didn't care, He didn't care, when he sat through the night, he couldn't sit on his...
How old he was at that time?
Yeah, it doesn't matter. I mean, the Lumpu Khao was a little bit older, or Lumpu Bua,
Yeah, but he's strong. He's physically strong.
Oh. I mean, I don't accept these things. I'm strong, I'm weak. I'm sick, What is that? What does it mean? I'm strong, I'm weak. What does it mean? I mean, the power lies in the chitta, not in the body. Huh? Yeah. I mean, the kilesas tell us, I can't do that because my body is weak. I can't do this because my body is old. I can't do this because my body is tired. And we say yes. Instead of no, I don't believe you. Or go to hell. I don't believe my body is strong. I don't believe that I'm tired. Yeah. You believe it. And then of course you fall for it. And then you can't do anything. And that's the trick, the work. They always use that same trick. You're bored, so you can't investigate. I am bored. That's why we call it, this is not me, that doesn't belong to me, this is not myself. I'm just observing, there is boredom. So what is boredom? The moment I observe it, I cannot investigate. But of course, if I say I'm weak, I believe it, that's the end of my practice. Stop. Go back to hell. And come back.
No, look, at this time, Luther said, position is not doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's the sati.
Yes. Yes.
You can do this in sati. You can do it any position. So it means that in changing positions too.
But it's still, we still believe it, don't we? When the kilesas tell us we are sick, we feel some unpleasant feelings in our nose or throat, our temperature is a little bit higher than normal. We feel sick. Okay, when I'm sick, I cannot practice. Because we are sick. So we feel sorry for ourselves. We feel so sorry. I'm so old. I cannot do the practice of Tanaja Mahabhoga because I'm so old. I feel sorry for myself. It's a kilesa.
No, I still practice, but just in different positions. Like
it doesn't
in
matter.
lying position.
Just stay in the same... Luther says stay in the same position.
Yeah, I know.
So look for a comfortable position and then stay for 2 hours in that position. There won't be any results if you change every 30 minutes.
That's too cut too. That's why.
Or then use walking meditation. You have 3 cars already, 3 legs already. It's difficult.
That's my own too.
Use whatever you can make use of, but don't let the kilesas fool you and believe you. You're sick, you're weak, you're old, you're injured, or whatever they tell you. You're bored, you're tired. Don't believe them. Just I don't believe you. Or if you're angry, if you're getting angry, then it's much better. Go to hell.
I know. That's the first step that I can stop my anger. I was told by Sadhu. And I got angry because of other people. And I didn't do anything, and they did me wrong. And I couldn't do anything about that. So I just got angry inside. And Tangan Tuan said, if you had died at this moment, you could not do it because your chitta is messy.
Mm-hmm.
That will bring you to hell. So from then on, when I'm going to get angry, not now. I'm going to die. If I'm going to die this moment, down to hell. So that brings back the sati. That brought back the sati.
Doesn't matter what brings back the sati, whatever happens. You just tell the kilesas to go to hell. Doesn't mean that you go to hell. Sati is still there, whoever produces the anger within you, just tell them go to hell. Whoever produces this tiredness or whoever produces the pain, go to hell. I'm staying here. You can do whatever, if you want to go to hell, go to hell. If you want to go to heaven, go to heaven. But I'm staying here. I'm doing my practice. There are 2 souls in our chest. Or there are 2 souls or 2 aspects in our chest. One is the aspect of Dhamma and one is the aspect of darkness or of nature. We have to realize that every moment we have always the decision to stay for the Dhamma or the decision to follow the kilesas. Of course we follow the kilesas all the time, because that's why we normally take their decision. That's right. That's true. It's believable. And the Dhamma, of course, is in the beginning not believable. How can that be, I'm not that bad, How can all this bad happen to me? So, every moment we can decide. We stay either with the Dhamma or we stay with the kilesas. To believe the Dhamma is much more difficult because it puts a lot of responsibility onto us. So actually, an invitation for us to grow up. Not to grow up in the body, but to grow up in our spirit. To grow up in Dhamma. And and put the kilesas, to their place, where they belong to. And one of the 5, this is one thing that helps when we keep the 5 precepts. We put we make a big circle around us, that protects us from the kilesas. And now, for practice, when we start practicing deeper and deeper and deeper, then the circle becomes closer and closer and closer. So we don't believe it. I'm not tired. You are tired. Okay, go to sleep. And I'm awake. Because if they are asleep, we feel free. Isn't that wonderful? We are free of them. If the little child, that constantly nauseates us or drags us, from here to there. If we can put that to sleep, we have our free time. Isn't that great? Think about it in a very skillful means. Huh? There are two aspects in our chitta every moment. It's for us to follow the Dhamma or it's for us to follow the kilesa. So use the language, whatever you want to use. You use the language, to put them at peace or to put them at rest, but not to interfere with your Dhamma. You take the side of Dhamma. The moment you want to practice, you take the side of Dhamma. So don't let the kilesas come up. If you're bored, okay, go away, and feel bored, I don't mind. If you want to grumble, go ahead and grumble. But I do my practice. I do my Buddha. And each moment I'm more aware of the breath, or more aware of the Buddha, or more aware of the pain. If you don't like it, just go away and don't like it. I don't care. But I do.
It sounds easy.
Yes, it sounds easy. But you have to start. The first start, of course the first step is the most difficult. You do it the second time, it becomes easier. You do it the third time, and it becomes more easy. You do it 1,000 times, and it becomes a habit. Otherwise how can we deal with these obnoxious kilesas? How can we deal with them if we don't have, some Dhamma, that helps us? Or some skillful means, how to deal with it. The Lord Buddha gave us one. This is not me, that doesn't belong to me, whatever, happens in front of me. There's a feeling, there's a memory, there's a thought, there's a body, there's a, sight, there's a smell, there's a sound, there's a taste, there's a feeling, touch. Okay. And the moment there is, I can observe it. So that puts a little distance in it. Be skillful. And if you see them obnoxious, then just be obnoxious with them. Just kick them out. They have nothing to do. That's why I said, you invite the hooligans into your heart. You don't refrain them. You don't close the door. Close the door. Stop them out there. They have no right to enter. Oh. Yes, of course it sounds, but it comes also from my own experience. That's the way how I dealt with them. Otherwise, they will always run over your head. It's just like a child, you go with a child shopping, and if you give it whatever it wants, it will never stop. And if you don't give it, it cries, until you get it for it.
You need a German spirit to do it.
Yes, of course. That is one thing, that is good about Germans, if they do something, they do it full-heartedly. And if they are determined to do something, then they are determined. But, until they get that determination, that takes some time. They need to be convinced. And certainly Hartman need to be convinced, that it brings us. But once we are convinced, we run.
To where?
To Nibbana, of course. Or if we go the wrong way, we support him. That's. One can do a lot of things with determination. Determination is one of the enlightenment factors. Yeah. Effort, determination, upekkha, equanimity, samadhi, pity. If we don't have pity, we find it. We feel grateful that we're just here. Pity comes up. So, they're all enlightenment factors. Practice them well, and you will find it. Isn't it? In this one sutta? Practice the 7 enlightenment factors very well and you will reach Nibbana. You will overcome even sickness. You remember? Bojang kasati sankaso. Yeah. Mahakassapa and the Lord Buddha, when the Lord Buddha was sick, he said to, I think Mahakassapa, recite me the 7 enlightenment factors. And then he rose up from his sickened state and was healthy again. That's what it said.
So it's just investigation. But it's just investigation. Really, but so that's why even an arahant when they got sick, they just investigated.
Yes.
Tajaman did the same when he
Yeah,
was
of course.
sick.
I mean, you have to investigate. You want to know what is going on, and you want to know the cause of why something is going on.
It's breaking. My body is breaking. Really breaking.
Yes, and I'm dying. It's the next thought. The first thought, my body is breaking. I feel, the next thought is I'm going to die. Oh.
I have to go to the path before I die.
Well, then chuck them out.
That's why I have to save myself.
Yeah. Don't save it for the wrong reasons. Huh? If you do it, learn it. Get the determination, to chuck it all out. To throw it out. Don't believe them. I don't believe you. You can do it as a mantra for a while. I don't believe you. I don't believe you. I don't believe you. I don't believe you. I'm not interested in you. I'm not interested. I remember actually doing that. I'm not interested. Not interested. Not interested. Not interested. And whatever thought, not interested. Not interested. Not interested. And then it stopped. You get less and less and less and less and less. But you have to be determined to do it. I can't help you with this. You have to develop it yourself. You don't want to die, but not more than 20 years. Maybe only 5 years. Who knows? Maybe 10 years. Maybe 2 years. Maybe 20 years.
No, maybe tonight.
No, maybe tonight, yeah. So, practice, the Lord Buddha, tells us, to practice like we can die every moment. So that we feel happy. The moment we die, we have practiced. The moment you do something else, follow your kilesas and you die. Okay, so I wish you a nice return and nice practice. Was it good?
Thank you for your help.
You're welcome.